What's going on, guys? Julien here, back with another video. Today, a different kind of video. I don't know if you guys heard, but there are new rules, new policy updates to how YCSs and other events are going to work. So we're going to look at those today. So let's find out together what's happening. Tournament policy change verse 2.5. The first important thing here, it's like a lot of text, but the first important thing is the time rule changes. So now Swiss rounds have been updated from 45 minutes to 50 minutes for tier 1, 2, 3 events. So that's everything, right? That's your locals, your regionals, and YCSs as well. It says it right here. And it says for tier 4, which is literally just worlds, that will be announced for different events, whatever. We don't care about worlds. That's just like once a year. I guess I have a little bit of experience with these new time rules because that's how it works for the current worlds. I will say I do like the fact that there will be no more like draws. I think that draws were like a detriment to the game, especially when players would intentionally draw in some scenarios to like boost both of them so that they could both top. I do like that that is gone. I do think that also having more time is nice. Like realistically, if you're playing correctly, like you should never go to time. So 45 minutes is already enough. 50 minutes should now be more than enough. The only annoying thing is obviously there are some games that do take a while because it's a lot of back and forth. But if you play at a reasonable pace, you should be able to avoid that scenario most of the time. So let's see what else has changed. Oh wow. Okay. So I don't know if you guys see this, but this one is crazy. Top cut now for all events will only be top 8. So that means that there's no more top 64. Hey guys, welcome to my deck profile. I got top 64, I got top 32, I got top. No more. No more of that. It's only going to be from now on top 8. And to, make that to kind of compensate with that, they added 2 additional Swiss rounds. So pretty much those 2 rounds of top cut that would have been there are now instead Swiss. That one's very interesting because it does show that it's gonna be harder to top obviously from now on because there's only 8 spots instead of like 32 or 64 based on the size of YCS. And that you're just gonna have to now no more mistakes in Swiss, like no more the last round of Swiss I'm X2 or I'm X1 I can lose. No more of that. The only thing that this benefits is like if you're having a really good Swiss run, then in the last round, like if you're XO or even if you're X1 in the last round, you should still be able to top and you can now afford to lose and then go straight into the top 8. So this has definitely pros and cons. Like it's gonna make it harder for like a lot of players to top just overall, just again from the sheer there's a quarter of top cut slots from like before to now. But as long as if you're locked in and you have a good run, then it shouldn't be too hard now to actually try to win the event. Like topping is gonna be harder, but winning is gonna be easier if you can actually make it to top cut, obviously, because there's less rounds. But this is still crazy. This is a crazy change. I did not see this coming personally. I will say again, damn, this is crazy. But they are adding 2 Swiss rounds. So this is gonna be a lot of Swiss now. Like if you think about it, before like a 1,500 person YCS had 11 rounds. Now there's gonna be like 13 rounds. And actually, I don't know if you guys use this at all. We got an ad. The top cut calculator, kind of showing how what record you need to top. Also, these calculators you have to take with a grain of salt because they don't before I would say that they don't calculate draws. Now they won't calculate double losses because double losses are going to be a thing. That is another part of the new time rules, that if you get to time, there's no more draws. You will just both lose, and so that's definitely something that you want to avoid. You can see here that if there's 1,500 people at a YCS, I would say that's the average. 13 rounds of Swiss and an 8-player top cut. Only 5.5 X2s will make it, so that's probably 5 or 6, probably more with the double loss again. But that means that if you're X1, you're guaranteed in. But being X1 after 13 rounds, that's not easy. And if you are X2, you need to have good tiebreakers to make it in. So if you lose 2 rounds early, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be very tough. I will say that from what I've heard already, the pricing structure does not change in the case of the top 16 Valors, the top 64 like YCS playmats, we'll definitely have to see if there's more information about that. But if you finish in Swiss in like the top 16, you should still receive a Veiler. Top 32, you should still receive a Card Trooper. Um, so let's see. This is still the same. So yeah, game loss applied if you don't. If the round ended in end of match procedures, you will both lose. Wow. Okay. So yeah. So this is what we talked about. Again, like you just don't want to go to time with these new time rules. Before going to time was already like no one wants to draw. There were alternate win conditions in time, like burning your opponent with certain effects or gaining life points with certain effects. Now going to time is not beneficial. And I will say, I've heard a lot of people talk about like obviously we kind of knew about these new time rules. Like before they had been announced and like people were talking about them. People have talked about how like if you go to time, like if you're losing already, there's no reason to scoop because your opponent, will lose also, and therefore there'll be one less person like the above bracket. I think that's some bull. Like you do not want to take your opponent down with you because it just makes your tiebreaker worse. Like we just talked about, right? We're looking at this calculator again. Only 5x2 players will make it. If you make your own tiebreakers worse, like you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So you definitely like I would say this is not beneficial to you at all. It actually is more hurtful than beneficial to like not stall again. Like if we're talking about cheating, cheating is not good, not allowed. So throw that out the window. I'm talking about naturally letting the game play out to where you're like in a position you'll 100% lose. Like all the time you're losing, but you're not dead yet, and so you're just like taking like normal actions and playing the game out, and then you just let the clock run out like naturally, and therefore both you and opponent lose. I think that you should not do that. I think that if you're in a losing position and your opponent is beating you, and there's like for example 1 minute on the clock, you should just scoop because having both you and your opponent lose will actually be more like detrimental to both of you because you will now have like worse tiebreakers rather than actually be beneficial where like you take one person out of like um out of the bracket above you. Like I think that like if you are doing the other one, the latter where you're like, oh, I'm just gonna let the time run out naturally and then we'll both lose, you're just like preying on like the downfall of your opponent in the next future rounds. That's also still bad, right? Because people that you have lost to, you actually want them to do well in the rest of the tournament because they are your tiebreakers. So you actually like want like legit just for your own best interest, you want what's best for them, and that would be for them to do well in the rest of the tournament. And that starts with if you're losing, just surrender and then have better tiebreakers and then just lock in for the rest of the tournament. So the end of match procedures, we have entirely new end of match procedures. Swiss and single eliminations will use the same end of match procedure. If a match does not have like we talked about this, you will both lose. This one is really cool. I really like this. So I think one of the reasons why they're shortening it to a top 8 is also because they want to implement this no time in top cut rule, which I think is really, really good, right? Now there will be no more losing in time in top cut. Like top cut should be like the best of the best duels. Obviously still play at a reasonable pace, but at the same time, you're not now going to lose on time. Little throwback to my like top 4 at Orlando where I lost in time because I made some misplays, but I was still ahead in the game and I just lost in time because my life went too low. Like you don't want to lose like that in top cut. That's so like demoralizing. It's just not how Yu-Gi-Oh should be played. So yeah, so the double loss, we covered that. That's honestly pretty much it. So the major points again are no more top X whatever. Like it's always gonna be top 8. As well as the time rules changing. I think that again the time rules, they're not perfect, but I think they're still an improvement of the previous time rules. And as long as people like aren't cheating, like no, I'm not no quotes, sorry. As long as people are not cheating and they're not like actually like stalling out their opponents to both take a loss. And I'll just put real quick, like if someone is slow playing you, judge, like do not let anyone slow play you, right? Like call a judge. You're not both going down for this. You call a judge, they'll give you a time extension if your opponent is slow playing, like you get that sorted out. So I do think that like these time rules are actually like an improvement on the previous time rules. There could definitely be like a few kinks here and there improved. Like for example, if you're like up a game and time is called, I don't think you should take a double loss. But for now, that's the rules and that's what we're gonna have to live with. But yeah, so that's gonna be it for the update on the new rules. If you guys have any questions about them, leave them in the comments down below. We can start some conversations down there. And yeah, have a good day. Bye bye.